All right, hello once again. Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College, and as part of the Rankin Technical College AWD 1000 Web Development Technologies class, I have been creating a series of video presentations that are based on the Mozilla Developer Network Learn Web Development series. I am in part 3 of that series, which is on CSS, or learning to style HTML using CSS. And there are 4 modules in here, and I'm in the second one, which is under CSS building blocks. And now we're going to talk about styling tables. And as it says, sometimes you'll have to style a table. So they make a table in here. All right, and let's go in and just grab their example. And it's not really styled very much as far as I can tell, but we'll take a quick look. So let's get into here. We'll put in that table right here. Just going to try to pretty this up just a tad. It looks like it's acceptable. And I don't know if we've got any CSS that we put in here yet or not. So it should look like this when we get done. Okay, all right, let's look and see if indeed it does. And we'll knock it back down to, well, that's 200%, but we'll just knock it down to 100%. There you go. In fact, let's make it bigger so you can read that, okay? As it says, some rows have been removed for brevity reasons. Just fine. With only the default browser, the styling looks cramped, hard to read, and boring. You need to use some CSS to fix it up. All right, so it says make a copy, which we've done. Download both images, noise and leopard skin, and put them, I don't know if I really want to do that. But let's take a look at what they have in here. So the table will have a fixed layout, take up 100% of the screen. In fact, let's do this. Let's put this in a step at a time so we can see exactly what's going on. Again, as always, I think that's sometimes the easiest way to learn how to use this stuff. All right, so now we've got this in here. Just the stuff on the table itself. All right. Well, that looks a little bit better. Not the way that this is all aligned, but you can see there's a little more rhyme and reason to it. This is going to have some work done. And maybe is it because we're not at 100%? No, even at 100%, that doesn't look very good. All right, so that's fine. That's a start. Next, let's put some stuff in there for the T head. All right, so we want the width to be 30% for the first. Well, let's just do them one at a time. I think that'll make it easier to see what's going on in here. So this is nth child 1. So let's see if the first heading looks any different, all right, from what we had just looked at. There's the first heading. All right, it got moved over a little bit. Okay. And then the second one, so the first one was moved over 30%. The second one is supposed to be 20%. So this one got moved over. All right. So let's look at number of albums next, and then most famous song. So this is number 3, and as you know, we go back and take a look at it. I'm not going to refresh yet, but this is number 3. So you can see it lines up right there with the A in famous. Refresh, and it's been moved over. Finally, let's look at the last one here. Which we want to move over 35%. So again, let's look at this very last one that's in here. Notice it lines up with between the crack between fallen in love, fallen and in. So we refresh, and not much, but I guess it's moved over. Did we save when we did this? Yes, we did. So it has been. All right. And then finally, let's finally come in here. And for our heading in our data, let's set padding around them at 20 pixels. All right, again, let's knock this back down to 100%. And again, does it look perfect? Of course not, but it's looking better. And the only thing that we've done so far is kind of spaced out our main headings. All right, and the space between each row looks a little bit nicer than it had previously. Okay, all right. So it says a table layout, which is the first thing that we put up there. Value of fixed is generally a good idea to set on your table. It makes the table behave a bit more predictably by default. Normally, columns tend to be sized according to how much content they contain. With table layout fixed, you can size your columns according to the width of their headings. All right. Border collapse, did we put that in? Right here. Oh, we put in the width of 100%, meaning the table will fill any container it's put in and be at least somewhat responsive. The border collapse. It says when you set borders on table elements, they will all have spacing in between them. Okay. And again, if you take a look at what we currently have. All right. Let's take a look and try to knock down the size of this table and see if it remains at least semi-responsive. Actually, the smaller it gets like this, the better it's looking. All right, draw your own conclusions as to whether or not you agree with what I just said. It says, at this point, our table already looks a lot better. Well, if I take mine up to 100%, and that's where I am. So that does right there pretty much look the way that they show it right here. First of all, we found a font on Google Fonts that's suitable for this table. All right, so they want us to add this font. Again, you can put that anywhere in your head section. We'll just put it right here. All right. right, and afterwards we have not applied that yet, so we will come in. This is the typography. So here we're saying what the font family should be. So let's grab all that. We'll put it down below in the CSS where we added our stuff previously. So right down here. And pretty it up just a tad. And as always, I'm going to save and immediately bring it up so we can see what it looks like now. All right. Well, you can see how much the font has changed in here. You can now see too how that is totally lined up. So is that. So is that. Now we haven't fixed the footer yet. We can fix that momentarily. And we've got that. And if we start to change the size, still remaining where it's looking pretty good. It says we have a global sans serif font stack. This is purely a stylistic choice. We've also set the custom font on the headings. All right, to that grungy punk rock look. We've set some letter spacing for readability. Again, as mentioned, it's a stylistic choice. We've center aligned the text in the table, and a big thing. And we've right aligned the heading in the footer section, all right, to associate it better. So this is the only thing right now, like I said, that to me at least, probably should go over here. All right, but it's not bad the way it is. All right, on to the graphics and colors. Because the table is full of punk and attitude, we need to give it some bright colors. So we want to come in here and add the graphics and colors. One nice thing they've done about in this example, and I just want to mention it because hopefully at least I will be smart enough to do the same thing when we start to create our own website soon. And that is, notice they put each one of these things is in their own section. So in other words, there is a section and it's just simply denoted by a simple comment for graphics and colors, typography. All right, and these are more or less general types of things in here. So I'm going to save this. And again, I'm going to come back into here. And one more time, let's refresh. All right. Again, draw your own conclusions over whether this looks better or whether it looks worse. All right. All right, zebra striping, this is something you can do in a multiple number of ways. You can do it with CSS. You can do it with jQuery. You can do it with JavaScript, I believe. But what this is saying is I want every other row here to be a different color. So as always, much easier to bring it up there and show it to you. Save it and just refresh. All right. Now, personally, I don't like that look, but this is the zebra striping that's in here. So you'll notice, all right, typically this is referred to, I believe, as row 0, 0, 1, and 2, or it'd be 1, 2, and 3. But it's really important over the way it is as far as how you want this thing set up with the striping. All right, we said nth child odd. So I believe it's 0, 1, 2. Weird thing about some of this stuff is with some of it, it appears as some of it starts counting at 1 and some of it starts counting at 0. Now, I didn't bring in this noise.ping and this leopardskin.jpg. Why don't we see if we can bring those in and see what that does change on this. So I'm down here. All right, so let's see. That's one of them. Download that. And that's the other one. And I'll download that. All right, so who cares? Well, let's take a quick look. And that is, we'll come back over to here. I'm going to go into my downloads. I'm going to grab, I thought I would have downloaded them there, but I don't know if it did or not. Oh, that is something else I was working on yesterday. We will just save it right from here to the desktop. All right, and we will save this one also to the desktop. All right, now does that make our table look any different? Yeah, a little bit. All right, so you can see our background has changed. And I think that's the color that we're putting in there. That's the background. That's the noise, and that's the other one, I think, or leopard skin and noise. One is noise and one is leopard skin. Actually, it does look a lot nicer than it did just a couple minutes ago. All right, jump back down to where we were. So that's what it looks like right now. It says, now this may be a bit over to the top and not to your taste, rather, but the point we're trying to make here is the tables don't have to be boring and academic, and that's true. All right, then they're going to come in with a caption. So let's grab that. All right, save, come back here, and let's refresh. There it is, right there, the summary of the UK's most famous punk rock bands. Okay. Now they give you a couple tips in here. Let's just very quickly look at them because we're butting up against our time right here. Make your table markup as simple as possible. Use percentages so the design is more responsible. Use the table layout fixed. Use border collapse. Use the T-head, T-body, and T-foot to break it up into logical chunks. Use zebra striping. And use the text align. So tables, by their very nature, are a bit boring, but using what has been shown in here makes them a little less boring. All right, so when we come back, we'll talk about the last two sections here first, debugging CSS and then organizing your CSS. So I'll be back to talk to you about debugging in just a couple minutes.